What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today on this video we'll be doing imaginary numbers introduction. Before we start though, I'd just like to say thank you very much guys for watching the videos on this channel, subscribing to the channel, commenting. I really appreciate that guys. If this video they actually help you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel because I have made lots and lots of videos on mathematics. You can go to the playlist and choose the videos that you are interested to watch them. Also made videos on previous question paper. You can also watch those videos there. Alright guys, so let's start with our introduction to imaginary numbers. So what are imaginary numbers guys? Imaginary numbers basically are the numbers that are negative which are under the square root. Now let's do this example here. When you have negative 1 under the square root, we say this is equaling to I, which I represent imaginary numbers, or some books they use J to represent imaginary numbers. Because if you put this negative 1 on your calculator, you will get an error, meaning that this number really doesn't exist. But then we are using our imagination. We can say this number is actually equaling to I or J. So for these videos that I'm gonna do in future, I'm just gonna use I guys to indicate imaginary numbers. So how do we actually calculate with imaginary numbers now? Since we cannot really use our calculators, it's really not that difficult guys. Look, you can be given a problem like this. You can be given negative 25 under the square root. You know that when we have a negative number under the square root, it's already an imaginary number. So when you do your calculations, this is how you do it. You multiply this 25 with negative 1, so that you can also do it this way. Say square root of 25 multiply the square root of negative 1, right? This here is the same as them. So what is the square root of 25? Is gonna be 5. But then what is the square root of negative 1? We say it's an imaginary number. So this negative 25 under the square root, the actual answer is 5i. So that's how you actually solve these imaginary numbers. Another example could be something like this, where you have negative 9 under the square root. Again, you're gonna do it the very same way that we did this negative 25 on the square root. So this is gonna be 9 multiplied by negative 1 under the square root. So you can say 9 multiplied by negative 1 under the square root. So what is the square root of 9? This is gonna give us 3. And then what is the square root of negative 1? We know that this is equaling to I, because we have already established that the square root of negative 1 is I, right, or J. But remember, I'm gonna use I here for imaginary number. So other questions, they are not as simple as these ones, because these 9 and 25 they give us a perfect square. How about when you're given something like this, when you have the square root of negative 8? As you can see now, this cannot give us a perfect square. So how are you gonna solve this one? So it's not really that difficult. Again, you do almost similar thing. Now you can say 2 multiplied by 4 multiplied by negative 1. Again, you continue, you break it like that. 2 multiplied by root 4 multiplied by root negative 1. So this is gonna be 2. It's gonna be root 2. What is the square root of 4? Is gonna be 2. And then what is the square root of negative 1? Is gonna be I. So your final answer is gonna be 2 root 2i. Do you guys see? So this is based from the square root of negative 8. So that's how you actually do this one. So some of you might even wonder, what about when you have something like this, maybe the square root of negative 3? When you have the square root of negative 3, because 3 doesn't have this perfect square, you can just say 3 multiplied by negative 1 under the square root. So we know that root 3 is going to be multiplied by the square root of negative 1. So your final answer for this one here is going to be root 3 multiplied by I, because we know that this square root of negative 1 is equaling to I. Guys, I hope you can see how do we actually solve this. I try to make enough examples so that you can able to understand. So let's do another examples where they're gonna help us understand the imaginary numbers a little bit further. Alright guys, so let's look at this. We already established that root negative 1 is equaling to I, right? So we can also say the following: since root negative 1 is equaling to I, we can say if we square that root negative 1, which what you do on the left hand side you must also do on the right hand side. We're going to also square I on the right hand side. So the square root and square, they're gonna give you the power of 1, so you're gonna be left with negative 1. So meaning that I squared is equaling to negative 1. If you see I squared anywhere else, it means that the answer is negative 1. Let's try to do some calculations on this one here. Let's make an example. Let's say you have 2 multiplied by imaginary number squared, right? So we say calculate this or simplify this. Basically what you're going to do is just gonna say 2, and then wherever there is I squared we can substitute with negative 1. Remember, negative 1 is equaling to I squared, meaning the final answer here is gonna be negative 2. I hope you guys understand this. It's really not that difficult. Another one could be something like this. Maybe let's say we have 9. This time we have just make it negative 9, right? So if you have something like this and then we say simplify this, you can say negative 9, but wherever there is I squared, we know that that is actually negative 1. So negative 9 multiplied by negative 1, the answer is gonna be 9. Guys, be very careful. I squared doesn't mean that it's negative 1 squared. No, I squared is basically means that it's negative 1. Guys, so this is how we do some calculations on imaginary numbers. So I'm not gonna go further guys and try to solve other complicated questions. What I'm going to do right now is to inform you guys on the next video we're going to do those questions that are complicated. And by the way, before we finish this video, imaginary numbers, they are just one part of complex numbers. So in order for us to understand complex numbers, it's better to understand imaginary numbers first, because complex numbers is a combination of real numbers plus or minus imaginary number, and that is a complex number. But we'll do that later on this channel. Right guys, if this video helped you to understand how imaginary numbers work, do not forget to like, subscribe, and also comment if there's something that you need to add that I didn't mention. And also, if you want to watch more of these videos, don't forget to hit the bell notification, so whenever I upload the video you can able to see as soon as possible. Alright guys, so at the end of this video there will be a playlist where I'll be solving more problems on imaginary numbers and also complex numbers. So you're gonna click on that playlist if you want to watch more of those videos. Thank you very much guys for watching.